Hello YouTube. In this video, I'll be making my very first tier list video since I got every character to SS and level 85. I'll be making two parts to this. This video will be for 100k stats and below, and if this video gets around 500 views, I will be making 150k and 300k stats. To also make a character is good if the character has high dance per second, if the character can resurrect, if the character can cure versus heal, if the character is a solid teammate all around, and if the character can hold their own. So let's start with Arme. Arme is A tier, despite the Blood Pest nerf. A lot of people overreacted, but you just gotta adapt to it. The damage got buffed, and it still works the same if you're close to a mob and you still use it. Shock Stun is an amazing skill because it has a lot of damage. It's great for Burkus Lair, and she is a solid teammate because she can cure with her second job and provide holy shields with the saver. Also, her meteor is also good for Burkus Lair, but everything I talk about is going to revolve around this dungeon, but it is nice to have a solid teammate. And overall, Army's A tier. Dio is B plus tier because despite people complaining about his AP recovery, his onrush being nerfed, and his 4th MP bar being bad, all you have to do is get higher stats, like, and get MP recovery cards on your armor, and AP won't be a problem. Deal's Devil Force is great for dungeons, like healing with Neurotic, the black space that has that shield around them for 5 seconds. Weapon Force is one of the best jobs in the game for mobility, like Ronan's second job. If you combine Kinetic Spark with Black Space with Neurotic and Raycan, that is a deadly combo. This character doesn't have A tier damage, but he does deserve the spot at B tier, B plus tier. Going on to Elesis. Elesis is B tier because she doesn't have the damage like Dio and characters that will be above her. She has the best auto in the game, and I wish she had a fire enchantment like a Ronan that will put the character a little bit higher. But she lacks damage at this stat range, and what makes her good is her 4th MP bars. Her first job, 4th MP bar, you can stay alive for longer, and her second job, 4th MP bar, is great for Burkus Lair, is good for killing mobs, and overall has high damage. Her third job is better for killing mobs that are above platforms and aside her, because it's basically a lot of lava. It doesn't have a lot of damage. I already wish this character would get more buffs around her skills. Her 4th job isn't that great. She has hyper armor that can also help her stay alive while she's in Fatal longer. But other than that, her roll for 8 seconds got nerfed. It isn't that good anymore. She does have a bat flip similar to her roll, but it's not nerfed, but it isn't that good. So Alesis needs buffs to be higher at the stat range, but she is B tier. Last is A tier. This is what you need in the character in terms of damage per second. Venom Slice has a lot of damage potential to insta kill monsters and mobs. Kagemusha versus his first job, first bar is good to invade moves. Last has an invincible skill that's shared throughout all his jobs to hide from monsters when he's low on HP. He has a rocket jump to boost out sticky situations. He has a second bar. Curse of Biting is good for damage and holding monsters in place to attack them. Second and third job are good for their 4th bars, but I wouldn't recommend using them because those are more PvP jobs. What makes this character excel higher is his 4th job. First job, his first MP bar, Laser Cutter, is great. His second bar, Razor Blade, is amazing for damage. Blade Spirit is great for damage as well. And what makes this character the best out of these two characters right now are fourth bars. It can have potential to one-shot monsters, mobs, and bosses. So Last is a solid character to have on your team if you want high damage. He does fall off at Burkus Lair, but in dungeons he is top tier. The reason why I have two Seagharts here is because if you know how to JF, Sieghart is B plus. The reason why Sieghart is at B plus is because first job has soul extinction. This is a great skill to clear out monsters. It's a good skill to one shot monsters potentially or have bar 'em. It does have a weakness against hammer defenders at like Dimension's Door, for example. And second job is good for Burkus Lair. Third job is your main job if you don't know how to JF in terms of damage, because his heavy smash and his fourth MP bar does a lot of damage to monsters and mobs and bosses. He does drop off at Burkus Lair a bit. It's not that good, but he is a good teammate, so he deserves that B plus. If you don't know how to JF, then he's B tier because that's a big downside to the character. It's not having the extra job to do damage. And Seeker can slide and he can um, evade monsters easier. But since you don't know how to JF, you can't capitalize on that. So he's B tier if you can't JF. Lei is B plus tier because she's similar to Deal in terms of damage. Her summies carry the character with her buffs, and she has a DP skill of Hunt to decrease the boss's defense. She has Havoc and Real Dark. That's amazing for damage. She's only good at Burkus Lair for her fourth bar, but other than that, the character drops off. Other than that, she has really nothing else to gain. Like her dodge isn't amazing, but it is okay. Her jump is bad. Her levitation is worse since they get nerfed, and she's only good for damage. She isn't necessary for higher level dungeons, like Tower Disappearance or something. And she doesn't have damage like Last does, the potential to insta kill monsters. So B plus tier. Lire, I was debating on putting B plus, but she's actually A tier because of crossbow. If you can get above the monsters and you press up and then down and just spam Z Z Z Z Z, you will be able to get a lot of damage plus MP recovery. Her dirt bar time bombing is great to push monsters in corners. Her first job sharpshoot basically shoots arrows to other monsters. Also good for damage per second. Um, what makes this character A tier is her third job, Big Shot. It has the potential to one-shot monsters, mobs, and bosses. And Shock Rush is her third job, Dirt Bar, also great. Overall, she's good for damage per second, and she has higher damage than Lei, Seeker, and Deal. So she deserves A tier. Ronan, A tier, because despite the Holy Bless nerf, you can still use it in bursts and like use it like 3 times and then use it once again and another one for his first time. He has the best auto in the game besides Elesis. He has fire enhancement to increase the damage of that on top of Holy Bless. His Oridon sword is amazing at lower level of gameplay. And his second job has the best mobility in the game next to Dale's weapon force. Stack that with fire, and on top of that, his third bar has high damage. That's a deadly combo. So he deserves A tier for the damage per second. And on top of that, he has third job. Third job is one of the best jobs in the game because he has magic defense that has a bubble around you and people around it for like 10 seconds until a monster hits you a couple times and then it breaks. On top of that, he has the Oridon sword that the more teammates that are near you, the faster your MP recovery and HP recovery increases. If your teammate dies near you or and falls inside your circle of the Orlodon sword, it will pick him up, which is good. His fourth bar, fourth MP skill is one of the best in the game for defense. If like a monster like Burkos, for example, shoots fire on you, you would only take 1 damage to 2 damage per second instead of like the full insta kill. So he is really useful as a teammate, a support character, and offense because he has Furious Rush is great. He has Guard's Lire, which is his third bar, is amazing. His fourth bar for his fourth job isn't that good, but it helps you survive longer. And his Oridon sword for his fourth job is basically like Hellspear. Basically, it's just swords falling from the sky of the monsters in this bubble. Soul Blade, which teleports monsters in front of you for you to attack them, is what's gonna make that job better. But overall, it's not needed because that's the only job that doesn't have an Odo, and it has a weaker damage than the other jobs. So that's why Ronan's A tier. Zero is B tier because, in all honesty, zero domain got carried. This is his fourth bar. Zero domain is good for clearing out monsters and mobs fast, but his defense stance and his attack stance lack in damage compared to the characters above him. His roll is nerfed to 12 seconds, so that's a big downside to the character. And Bleeding Gash and some other skills are good, but in my opinion, it does like Elesis damage. It doesn't do like deal damage. And he is one of the weaker AP characters. I would like to see him get buffed in the future, but right now he is B tier. Ryan is A tier, despite the people crying about the Nephilium nerf. The people who dropped the character said it was bad was the people who only wanted to get spoon fed and don't deserve to play the character. First job, Resurrection is one of the best skills in the game to resurrect your teammates for 40% of their health. You can spam that over and over to refresh the timer, or if your teammate dies, you can just pop it again so they can have a better chance to survive. He has a 50-50% resurrection for himself, which is his C up skill. That takes 297 seconds around to refill after you die with it, or if the timer goes down. So that's good. Leasing Slime is good besides the nerf, but it's still viable for the character. Phoenix Assault and Hammering Crusher is great for damage. He has a wolf transformation with his first job, which gives teammates attack bonus, but minus 20 defense for Orion, which is bad, but it's a trade off to help your teammates. I wouldn't recommend using it unless you like want to mess around. Also, Ryan has a defense totem, which is useless. His HP totem is good to use, and his MP totems are great to use. He has a barrier if you press CC, and if like a monster tries to fly over you, like use like a dragon breath, it'll protect you. It'll protect you in almost any situation besides like Tower Disappearance, where Gordo does his instant death smoke move. Other than that, that's it's gonna protect you for 5 seconds, and the cooldown is 60 seconds or 30 seconds. Second job is my favorite because of his up ZZ and his down Z and his fast speed. Spinning Phantom is great for damage, and Flying Divide is amazing. It can one shot monsters, it can one shot mobs, it can one shot bosses, so it has high DPS. Also, Ryan has a stall wall, but that can protect you from one attack, and every fastest every 5 seconds. He has a roar that's kind of useless, but overall solid job. Third job is good for Burkus Layer if you want to do a high damage per second. It does like 1,000,000 to 2,000,000 at a low stat. It's still really good. The only problem I have with this character's third job is the first to third job. because it doesn't do a lot of damage. The job looks cool and all, but the basic attacks is great for MP recovery, so it is a trade-off. His fourth job is only good for purify stars for mobs, but honestly, it's only good for like mobs that are like higher platform than you and around you scattered. He has an Odo with Magnet Stand and also has insane MP recovery, similar to like Marie. He has an Odo with it. Ryan's regular XX skill has an Odo. And other than that, his base from 1 to 3 bars needs a buff on both XX skills and regular weapons. But yeah, Ryan's A tier. Jen is A tier because of Iron Fist. It basically gives him God mode. Despite Storm Fist being nerfed, it's still a viable skill to get MP recovery fast. You can also use Iron Fist with other jobs if you use it first on your first job and then switch weapons. Combine that with Dirt Job Odo, it's pretty deadly in terms of damage per second. What makes his character shine more is his fourth job because of burning. Burning does increase damage if he uses his dirt bar and his second bar and his first bar. All three of them does high damage and is good for mobs, it goes for monsters and bosses. And on top of that, he has God of War, which is his fourth bar with his fourth job. It's really good for clearing out mobs super fast or even hitting monsters like bosses. So Jen deserves A tier. Marie is A tier as well because of her jobs being so good. Her first job XX down, she does lighting to at mobs, and it increases her MP recovery fast. She has nuclear missile. She has destroyer that does a lot of damage at low rank to high level dungeons. She has homie missile, which is great for lower level dungeons, but falls off higher as the character progresses through the dungeons. She has a mana shield that's just like Jen's mana end of days, but you actually lose mana faster, so it's more balanced. She has second job, which is good if you know how to auto with it and control your gun sticker gauge from overheating. That would be really good. Her second job is similar to her fourth job. If you hold up C up, she has some like swords around her to do additional damage. Third job is great for MP recovery with your teammates and yourself. She's also good for Burkus Lair by putting those portals outside barrier and suppressor. Her fourth job is amazing with her insane MP recovery with her base attacks. She has good backlash, which is her first bar. Her Ice Tempest is pretty good. Her fourth MP bar is global, which is attacks and do damage to monsters no matter where they're at in the map. And overall, she will be S tier if she's over. Once I make her 150k to 300k in my other guide tier list. My bad. Amy. Amy needs buffs because she's a harder character to use. She's just like Zero. She has Odos, but it doesn't do a lot of damage like her dirt job. She has the best debuff in the game, but despite that, her basic attacks and her regular attacks are lacking. At least this is higher than her because of her fourth bars and her insane Odo and movement speed. But Amy, every character above her that has um buffs and debuffs can do things better than her. Her fourth job, fourth MP bar is great, but it doesn't put her above these characters because it lacks damage. Loving You only reses teammates when they're in the death animation, just like Ronan's Oridon Sword, but Ryan's Resurrection is basically better than that. And I would rather have Resurrecting than a Loving You heal. And Ryan has heals, like totems. Also, Amy Kier, with her second job, is faster than her third bar. And it requires less MP for Arme, so it's a plus for her. And basically, Characters have better debuffs, not debuffs. Characters can do what Amy does better. Besides her fourth job that debuffs everything. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this tier list. Let me know what you think. Once this video gets over 500 views, I'll make a part 2 with 150k and 300k stats. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys in my next video.